There was a corruption of church government and the development of the papacy. The first step was for pastors to take unto themselves more authority within their congregations than that which is given to them by Scripture. The Bible forbids pastors to be lords over God's flock. 1 Peter 5:3. Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being ensamples to the flock. Pastors are leaders of the church, but they are to be humble, servant-type leaders. Many pastors in the days after the apostles had the spirit of Diotrephes, which is mentioned in 3 John verses 8 through 10. Diotrephes loved to have the preeminence. The Nicolaitans are mentioned in Revelation chapter 2. Nicolaitan means to conquer the people. And so these are examples of pastors who were taking extra authority, unbiblical authority, in their congregations. Associations of churches were formed, and they elected presidents, who exercised more and more authority over the congregations. The presidents of the associations were naturally the leaders of the large city churches. The titles metropolitan or metropolitan bishop and patriarch arose. G.H. Orchard writes, "In those degenerating times, aspiring men saw each other in varied elevations. Consequently, jealousy, ambition, and strife ensued, and every evil work followed." This is a warning to churches of all centuries to be very careful about church associations. They naturally tend to take more and more authority unto themselves and to meddle with the affairs of the local congregations. There developed a distinction between elder and bishop. Under the apostles, these terms were synonymous, and they referred to the same office in the congregation. Later, the bishop became a separate office that had authority over many churches. Extra-biblical offices were also added, such as metropolitan, patriarch, archbishop, and finally pope. The word pope is a Latin term for father. For example, the Nicene Council of 325 AD, called by Emperor Constantine, was attended by 318 quote-unquote bishops. Thus, by that time, church polity or church government had been widely corrupted, and men were exalting themselves as bishops above their brethren, taking authority over many churches in a region rather than being content to exercise scriptural authority in one assembly among an equality of elders. These Diotrephes-like men, again see 3 John, were also willing to yoke together with the secular government and accept Constantine's role as a state church leader, as well as take his gifts and appointments. Eventually, there were 5 major centers of Christianity. By the end of the 4th century, the churches were ruled from 5 great centers: Rome, Constantinople, Antioch, Jerusalem, and Alexandria. The so-called bishops of these cities were called patriarchs. The Patriarch of Rome was the chief, and the Patriarch of Constantinople was second in authority. This was declared at the Second Ecumenical Council at Constantinople in 381. The Bishop of Constantinople shall have the prerogative of honor after the Bishop of Rome, because Constantinople is the new Rome. And again, at the Council of Chalcedon in 451, Rome was declared the head, and Constantinople was declared the second in the church hierarchy. These 5 centers of church authority gradually narrowed down to Rome in the west and Constantinople in the east. The bishops of Rome and Constantinople fought with one another for many centuries, like an ancient version of the feuds between the Montagues and the Capulets, the Hatfields and McCoys, and a classic East Side, West Side battle like Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. Rome represented the West Side, Constantinople representing the East Side. They made a final break from one another in the year 1054. This was the origin of the split between the Roman Catholic and Greek Orthodox churches.